When you're fishing for pike and muskie, it's really important to have a leader. There's different types of leaders on the market. This particular leader here is a fluorocarbon leader, and it's important to have about 80-pound test fluorocarbon. This is Suffolk's fluorocarbon, and you can tie it right to a little snap. And of course, if you're fishing with bigger lures, you want bigger snaps. If you're fishing with, let's say, a husky jerk, for example, you want a smaller snap. And if you're using bucktails, inline bucktails, this is a snelled line here, and it's for using like crankbaits, stuff like that. But if you're using a spinner, anything that spins like a bucktail, you need to put a ball bearing swivel there. You can also use titanium, and the titanium is really nice when you're using really lightweight lures because it's really thin. So it's important to have something that's not going to take away the action of a small lure. The fluorocarbon, sometimes that is just a little bit too bulky and it takes away too much action. So I prefer to have the titanium, and this is 20-pound titanium. And it really is important so you don't take away the action of those small lures, right?
Yeah. An alternative to that is a very interesting material that's made by Cortland. It's called Toothy Critter, and I'm holding up a package of it here. You can see this is 10 feet of 20-pound test. This Toothy Critter material is kind of like the titanium, but it doesn't have the stiffness of it. So what I've done here, I've actually used a snell knot, and I'm going to trim it in just a moment. And because this is wire that's coated in plastic, I'm going to use these scissors. These are the Rapala scissors that have a serrated edge, and they're actually designed for cutting leaders and also cutting braided line, which can be very tough to cut with normal scissors. So I'm just going to put the scissors in here to trim this. So that's gone. And I'm going to trim my monofilament. Now if you look at that, you can see how tight that connection is. So if I want a finesse presentation, the more I tighten on that snell knot, the tighter it gets. Now at the other end, if I don't want to have bulky terminal tackle, I can tie directly to my line by making a loop in my line. This is very simple. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the tip of my line through my lure, back through. Now instead of putting it, to get the maximum strength, instead of putting it into the loop the way you think it would go, you go the opposite way, okay? When I say the opposite way, where it's actually tougher to put it in, believe it or not, that adds strength to the loop. So you make the loop as small as you want. I'm going to make it about that small, and I'm going to do 3 wraps. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to put it back through my top loop. I'm going to hold a tag, and I'm going to pull the tag down and tighten it. I'm going to trim it in just a minute to show you. This is one of the best ways to make your connection. I'm going to leave a little bit of tag, and you can see that the tag points down, okay? So I would snug that up with pliers to make it really tight, but again, the tighter this gets from pressure from a fish, the tighter the knot gets. And also the lure has movement in there. It's a loose knot. So a very good system if you want to finesse fish, either using the titanium or using the Toothy Critter. And that way you'll protect your line, and if you do get a trophy, you won't lose it from having your line cut.